generally speaking to people in the crowds, listening to the speakers, there seemed to be a lot of appreciation for Rishi Sunak and the British government and the way that the British government have responded and been so strong in their support of Israel and Israel's right to defend itself. Like, that came across very strongly, that the people in the crowd were very appreciative of that. Saying that, I found it interesting that I heard, going back to what we were talking about with the rally on Saturday, people didn't feel safe. And just to bring it back to that, like, even though the government is being so clear that we are on the side of, or not side, but that we support Israel, Britain stands with Israel, that people still didn't feel safe in London.
Well,
I mean, there's a very serious conversation to be had about some of the things that went on, the minor, like, please take my words with nuance, but some things that were done at that pro-Palestine rally were disgusting. Mm-hmm. And if you were a British Jewish person, yeah, you would look at that and go, I don't feel safe here. Mm-hmm. And that is I think this is the thing, right? So Suella Braverman, yesterday, it was announced she would be meeting with Sir Mark Rowley today to talk about the language that was used and why didn't the Met Police take a firmer hand with it, right? But I look at that, and I guess because you've seen so many dog whistles from Braverman over the past few weeks, you sort of go like, do you even really care? Or do you just, is this because you're anti what was ever at that march rather than actually caring for the people who might have been affected by what was said? And maybe that's just me being cynical, but I don't really know how much you do care. I mean, you know, what, £3 million went to protecting Jewish synagogues, schools. Is that enough? I know people who aren't sending their kids to school still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I didn't mean to suggest there that the fear wasn't legitimate. Sorry if that came across. Yeah, sorry.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, and I think actually that, you know, whilst we're talking about, I think probably because we're talking about these two protests in comparison, we're sort of, perhaps our view is sort of slightly sort of focused on that. But there has been, you know, a more than 1,000% increase in hate crimes against Jewish people recorded by the Metropolitan Police, right? Since this has started. So it's not that they're kind of going, oh God, those scary protesters. It's like, no, there are hate crimes being committed against Jewish people now as a result of it. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you. Their fears are legitimate. And to be honest with you, even if those hate crimes weren't happening, who are you to say to someone, your fear is not legitimate? Do you know what I mean? Like, if they tell you they're scared, you believe them and you accept that they're scared. Do you know what I mean? It's whether or not you think that the reason they're scared is, you know, logical or follows, it's sort of irrelevant, isn't it? Because if that's how someone feels, that's how they feel, and it's something that has to be addressed.
Well, I mean, the point of it as well is that a big portion of the group that was organised was, you know, the anti-racists, right? So a lot of these people who go on these marches are because they are anti-racism, and being anti-Semitic would fall under that bracket. So if you are one of the few people who really think that for something going on in Gaza, you now have a right to attack a Jewish person in London, you're out of your head. Like, you need to go to prison. Yeah. Outrageous.
Yeah, completely. To your point about kind of the political manoeuvring of Suella Braverman here, I think it's I think you can say it is that, because as Laura quite rightly said, you know, the police have arrested people. The police are looking. The reason I told you about that sign that said "I fully support Hamas." The reason I've seen that is because the Met have tweeted it and said, "Who was holding this sign? We want to speak to them." Why? Because they're going to get fucking nicked, obviously, right? It feels to me like posturing, and it feels to me. If we talk about this particularly in the context of multiculturalism, right? Let's go back to what you were saying earlier. You know, has the refrain that's coming out that multiculturalism has failed essentially because of seeing this protest, and that for me really gives away the prejudices of the people that are saying that, right? Because they're not tweeting about the pro-Israeli march and saying multiculturalism has failed. You know, they're tweeting the march that is predominantly attended by Muslims and people of color, and they're saying it about that march because you know what are we saying here? People of different ethnic backgrounds form up multicultural Britain. That includes Jews. That includes Muslims. It includes black people. If you're only saying that the pro-Palestinian march is evidence that multiculturalism has failed us, you're literally just outing yourself, being like, there are too many Muslims in the street. It's like it's. I don't even know if I want to engage with it further than that. It's just embarrassing.
I know, but I think you do need to engage with it, because the point is that if you're watching a rolling news station, right, and you're watching coverage of that, and that's the sort of commentary that you're listening to, and you're only hearing that, and you're not hearing, any kind of rebuttal to it, you'll go, oh my God, yeah, the Muslims want to kill us. That's what they want to do. You're riling people up.
Yeah.
These sort of dog whistles are setting a really dangerous precedent, and it's making people fearful.
I think it's completely irresponsible.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's completely irresponsible, and I think it ties into the media narratives around this, to be honest with you. Whether
Framing
it's
tensions like that is nuts.
Yeah, whether it's kind of the reporting of unverified claims by, for example, the IDF, whether it's the sort of the mindless repetition of Israel has a right to defend itself, but then not challenging the politicians that are saying that on your radio station when the thing that you're asking them about is collective punishment and a war crime, allowing a politician to endlessly repeat Israel has a right to defend itself without challenging and saying, does that include the war crimes that are currently taking place? It all fits into this broader media environment of demonizing, stigmatizing the Palestinians, and not treating the humanitarian crisis that's happening there with the same level of sympathy and empathy that we saw for the atrocities that happened in Israel. And I despair, to be quite honest with you. The whole thing, maybe to take the conversation away from the editorial justification we've given previously for our approach to covering this. I think there's honestly a personal element of this in me, which is that I feel fucking sick talking about a lot of this. It genuinely upsets me. And I don't know if there's much more I can say about that, to be honest with you.
For me, we're not there. I mean, that's the discussion that we've been having a lot of the time, isn't it? That we're not there. You cover this side of it. When we can go to the Rafah crossing, that is a conversation we'll be having.
We'll be sending you there, will we? Straight there, straight to the Rafah crossing.
I'm glad that we've done it on here now, because I was going to broach this conversation with you later.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we've done it now and we've put it on record. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, when that news broke a couple of weeks ago, yeah, I mean, I think most of us can say you're probably once removed from someone who was, adjacent to the festival or was around the festival or knew someone who was there, and, that's what you're talking about in your private circles. And it's very difficult to be an objective, when something like that is so personal. Mm-hmm. I think there's a time and a place where you sit back and you understand it's not your turn to speak. And I think that's what I really felt those 2 weeks, the week, because we've been talking about it quite a lot. We've been everywhere talking about it, not just on here, on various stations. Both you and I have. But certainly at the beginning, when you're not there, I don't have connections in Gaza that I can text and talk to and get on the ground information. I'm just regurgitating what I've seen online, which is what enough people were already doing and spreading
misinformation.
Yes, smorgasbord of misinformation,
Delicious smorgasbord.
But you know what I mean? And it's like, is that helpful?
Yeah. Let's dip this misinformation into this raclette. Yum, yum, yum. Sorry. It's a really good point. And I perhaps cheapened it by making a joke, so I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. There's also a difference between being an activist and a journalist, right? And I think that when people listen to I like to think that when people listen to us, it's because we know enough about it that we feel confident to talk to other people and explain the story to them. Without being in the region, I didn't feel like that was something I could do.